And we're live in 3, 2,
Alpha
1. All right, everyone. Welcome, specifically John. Welcome to Becoming Alpha. I'm Brandon Wine. I'm your host. We're here today with a friend of mine as well as a soon-to-be and currently great businessman himself, Jon Trapp. Thanks for joining me.
Beer connoisseur.
Beer connoisseur. I guess I didn't ask you what titles you want to be referred to as. That's it?
Nothing.
Just beer connoisseur. All right.
Jon Trapp.
Yeah, Jon Trapp. He is the founder of Armada Investments. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And you recently, how long ago would you say, how many years ago, started the endeavor?
So I started the actual business in December of 18.
Okay.
But I didn't do anything with it.
Okay.
Until August of 19.
Okay.
And that's when we actually bought the first flip project.
Mm.
But if you want to know
Yeah.
a little bit more context,
Yeah. Well, so for those who don't know, you flip you flip condos, homes, and either sell them or you make them rentals. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before I actually started the Armada Investments business, I bought a condo right before I was supposed to get married, or did get married, in September of 18. I bought a condo in Germantown, Wisconsin, and we moved into that. That was in July of 18.
Yeah.
And so moved into there, and then about a year later, I knew as part of my plan that I wanted to have rentals underneath my belt. And so because I'm a huge fan of having multiple streams of income and having rentals be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so my plan was a year from there, I was going to, moving in July of 18, moved in. A year later, or 11 months after that, I started looking for my next place I wanted to move into.
Yeah.
So I could let me back up. So part of the reason why it's a year is because to qualify for owner-occupant financing through any of the local mortgage lenders, you have to be at the property living there. Your mailing address has to be there for 12 months.
Mm.
So that's why I came up with the 12-month thing and wanted to move out of there as soon as possible.
Cool.
And so 11 months in, I started looking for my next property that I wanted to move into and came across a for sale by owner. So someone who was not listing with an agent like the typical person does. And so I knew exactly the paperwork I had to do. I've been studying this for 5+ years, listening to podcasts and doing all sorts of stuff. Knew the paperwork I had to complete, and ended up single-handedly closing that deal.
Yeah. Nice.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So after consoling my wife, after telling her that we're moving, because we had just finished that project and just made it our own. She loves decorating. That's why my job is so much easier, is because she just tells me what to put up.
That's it. You just got to do the actions at that
Right.
point, right? She does.
So with her designing, she made that first condo exactly what she wanted. And I told her we were leaving because it's part of my bigger plan for our family. And she understands, and she's all for it too. But yeah, she had just finished everything how she wanted it. And then I told her that we're moving to another dump.
Well, it's nice to have somebody who's willing to work with you and support you.
Yeah.
And sees that next step in the vision,
Yeah. So now it's really close. I mean, our new place that we just moved into, which is a condo, another one.
Yeah.
4 buildings down from the previous one.
Okay.
And so
Short travel time to work.
yeah, moving was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because we ended up just carrying a lot of stuff with the boxes. We didn't want to rent a rental truck.
I wouldn't either, because you're moving right down the road, you know?
Yeah, so we pretty much just, I used like a little dolly, and then any like the big furniture, my dad has this like 12 by 8, no, it's like a 12 by 6 enclosed trailer that I borrowed. And I have like an SUV, so I just hooked up to my SUV.
Nice.
And we drove the 100 yards to the next spot and took all the couches and everything off and went from there.
Nice.
So yeah.
So how many properties are you at right now? So for people who don't know, we are currently, if you're wondering our location, sitting in your most recent completed project. You said next week it'll be done completely. Is that correct? Or would you say it's about done right now, just finishing touches?
It is almost done right now.
Okay.
The painting was just finished today. I had one of my friend's dads. Has been helping me out, and so he's been doing a lot of the painting. I do a lot of the more complicated stuff, like the new dishwasher that we're sporting be in the background here, and so he does a lot of the painting. He just finished up all the painting that was necessary.
Okay.
And the only other things that I can think of off the top of my head is I have like a few closet doors to put in and some shelving in some closets.
Gotcha.
And I think that's it. So
on your background aspect, leading up to all this, all these different properties you've bought, sold, and or, want to rent, what do you think led you to this, to decide to pursue this as opposed to, other careers or options, I guess?
Yeah, so traditionally, we were told growing up to find it or pick a career of what we wanted to do for the rest of our life, and work hard, get good grades, go to college, get good grades, and then graduate, and then you're in that career.
And then you get paid $50,000 for your good grades, right?
Yeah. And then $30,000 goes to school. So, plus interest. So I took a slightly different path. I knew from the start that I didn't want to go to college.
Yeah.
After after high school, I joined a business that was doing roofing, which you guys know, and I've been working with them and still work for him for the last, I'm coming up on the 6-year mark pretty soon here.
Okay.
So with all that being said, how this started was my father has had real estate of many different forms, condos, apartment buildings, since I was young. Like when he started his career in real estate, he was just in construction, owned a construction company, and worked his butt off, saved every penny he could to put down on properties, and he ended up building these 8 families and some other things too. And he always told us growing up that these buildings are your college fund if you were to go. Yeah. So obviously, like I said, I didn't go, but so yeah, with that being said, that was being taught that your entire life was kind of cool, because it's something that, like, if he didn't have those and he wanted to be the parent that partially paid for college or fully paid for college, whatever he wanted to contribute to my education, that, just like every other parent, what did every other parent do? They saved up, maybe they put it in other types of investments in the stock market, and then when their kids turn 18, they cash out that entire cash valued in the stock market, likely, and now the kids can go to college. Instead, what he did was he took the last 30 years and saved every penny that he could, and instead of putting it in the stock market, he put it into properties, buildings, And so over time, those buildings have more liquidity in them, let's say.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, he was able to take money out, but he still has the property.
Yeah.
See the difference there? Did you catch on? Because he
still owns it, but
versus the parents that cashed out and said, "Here's $30,000. Go to here's your college fund."
Yeah.
That asset is no longer there.
Yeah.
It can't make you money. Now, when in the version of my dad, his assets can still produce money year over year, and if he sells them one day, then he gets the sale value from that.
Gotcha.
Which I doubt he'll do, but so yeah, and then obviously the rentals and the rent and stuff like that. That was kind of brought up in my family and in the background the entire time. Gotcha. And when I was growing up, I always had to change out dishwashers, garbage disposals, and light switches, fans, all sorts of stuff that would break on these rental units.
Yeah.
And that created a dynamic where if I can't fix it, I find out how.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of skill set. That's something I'm trying to learn myself, you know, become a problem solver. So that's something that I think is really cool. Especially last week, I asked to come out here and learn some stuff, and you taught me 6 different things in 2 days. I put up a ceiling fan.
Yeah.
Beautiful ceiling. Best one I've ever seen. No. But yeah, I did a light switch, and I don't know, you're a good teacher, and I think it just shows probably from your childhood of you having to learn and stuff, you passed it on. So it was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Felt good to put something.
I enjoyed it too, because it's I like the teaching aspect of it, and in some sense, there's definitely a pay it forward.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't be where I am, and I'm not, in the spectrum of things, I don't think I'm that far.
No, but you're trying, and it looks like, dude, you're building the platform for success.
Right.
How many properties are you at right now?
So right now, there's 3 condos.
Okay.
One of them I live in.
Okay.
And then I am 50-50 partners with someone that in a duplex.
Okay.
And so that one is they're all in the same county.
Yeah.
I personally really like Washington County, the area, just because I understand it very well.
Yeah.
I lived and grew up there, so it makes sense to me. There's certain areas like Hartford that I want to believe in, and I see positive growth happening. So if I can put myself on the path of progress, and buy a property while they're still reasonable to pick up, I'm hoping that in 30 years that my bet would come true, and that it's worth more than what I paid for it.
Yeah.
So,
cool. So then this would be your 5th one then?
Yeah.
Yeah? 5th one?
Yeah, well, technically, I guess, let me see here. So, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Nice.
Because,
and that's in a span of how long? How long would you say?
A year and a half.
That's not bad, man.
I ended
considering
up
you're
selling
working?
one. I sold one.
Yeah, but considering you're working, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, so I sold one and I live in one.
Yeah.
So there's only, so this one is, like I said, almost done, and it's going to be ready June 1st. And then the other 2 are already rented out. And so that at least, it depends. I mean, every one of them is a little bit different, but they all have their own little strategy. Not every strategy for every property is going to be the same, just because there's different numbers involved.
Yeah.
And so if, for example, the duplex is pretty much going to, it might make $100 a month. It might, so that one specifically is the long-term play.
Gotcha.
And so understanding that we're just going to try to pay it off as hard as we can. And that way at the end of it, so when I'm 55 years old, I'm 25 now.
Yeah.
So by the 30 years later,
yeah,
when I'm 55 years old, it'll be something. It'll be paid off, and that'll potentially bring in $20,000 a year.
Gotcha.
On just that one property. And that's if we take 30 years to pay it off. Like I said, like we're going to try our best to be aggressive with it. And obviously, like I said, that was a 50-50 partnership. So I'll either buy them out at that point or we just split the 20 grand every year. I'll manage it likely.
Yeah.
And I'll have like a management fee in there and then we'll split the 20 grand or whatever the rental income is at that point in time. I mean, you also have to assume too that in 30 years time, what it's renting for now,
it's not what's going to be.
It's going to be renting for more later.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping in 30 years time, it's going to be like right now it's at like $950 a month per side. And I'm hoping in 30 years, it'll be $1,400 or $1,500, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just because of inflation and
makes sense.
Surrounding area, especially like I said, if it's a booming area and I'm in the path of progress, people are going to want to live there. So therefore they're going to pay more to live there.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah. So take me through your process of when you're looking to buy a home, why you decide to buy a condo or duplex, and then from there, how you schedule out, how you do, what you decide to fix, how you put that in the timeline, the whole process until finish, till selling or renting. How does that look for you?
So like I said, it depends on the property.
Yeah.
Every property is a little bit different. So I'll give you an example. There was a property that you guys had came out and had done some video footage on. And that one, from the start, the numbers that I came up with showed that I could not keep that property. I would be losing money if I kept that property. Like, I wouldn't lose money, but where I'm coming from is I would have to leave money in the deal, which meant I would have to come up with like $15,000, which I didn't want to do. So instead, I chose to sell it because I knew it was so like before I closed on it, I knew going into it, the outcome of me doing this is that I want to sell this property. And that's something that you have to do when you're analyzing every single deal that comes through, is understand what your outcome is, and then also to have backups. What happens if coronavirus hits and nobody buys a house?
Yeah, it's true.
So can you rent it out? Well, yeah, I know I could still make $200 a month, but again, I would have to leave money in that deal, which I just don't. I would rather not. But if I had to,
you could.
I could.
Yeah.
So, that one I knew going into it. I wanted something to get my feet wet with rehabbing. It was my first project that I would be doing by myself, and my W-2 job typically is very slow in the winter. We do roofing, and so very slow in the winter, which gives me a lot of time to make this happen.
Yeah.
And so what I ended up doing was, the entire month of January, I was laid off pretty much. It was snow. I still worked 2 jobs, you know what I mean? So it's like almost 3 actually. So like if I was working for the roofing company, I would be working there. But if it snowed, I wouldn't be working there. Then if it snowed, I would be plowing for another landscaping company. And if it wasn't either and it was just blistering cold, I would go work on the condo. So that was like my priorities in that order.
Gotcha.
So if
almost a passion project in a way.
So like there was definitely there's sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifice. Like the fact that I had to work, I didn't get paid from the roofing job. I didn't file for unemployment for the entire month of January. So the only income I had was through plowing. And so I kind of had to just save up a bunch of money before winter to get through. So it's like there's sacrifice to make dreams come true. And I knew it going into it.
Gotcha.
So
1 second here. Didn't want to interrupt you.
So yeah, going into it, I knew that I was going to be paying a little bit too much for the property. but still enough that I could flip it, make it look beautiful, and sell it.
So where does that come down for funding wise then for you regarding, with working those jobs and then making the payments on the home?
So yeah, my private funding side of things, like I said, it just comes down to saving up enough money and trying to get through on whatever I can, not going and buying stuff that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And if it was a tool, the company paid for it.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
So yeah, that wasn't that big of a deal. But as far as when it comes down to purchasing the property, what we ended up doing was I listened to a podcast called Bigger Pockets, religiously.
Plug alert.
So I listened to this podcast. Every Thursday it comes out. The real estate version does. They have other ones. And so I listened to that podcast, and over the years you learn different ways of how to get money. And I mean, there's a whole gamut of different things that they talk about. But one of the things that they hound is that you start with friends and family for acquiring money. And so if you can't use friends or family, there's this point where you have to start making connections to be able to raise enough money for your entire project. So that means, what that looks like is going to RIA meetings, or for example, the ones that I like going to is Brew City REI. Shout out for Brew City REI. That's the real estate investors. And they gather usually once a month. And last time I went, they had little free tickets at the door for a taco truck right outside for 2 free tacos.
Nice.
And it was so somebody paid for that.
Yeah.
That's how people want to share their info. And so like I said earlier, when I was helping you, it's because I need to pay it forward.
Yeah.
And by sharing what I know can only help benefit others.
Yeah.
So back to the money. So Bigger Pockets always says, start with friends and family. If you can't find anybody, then you're going to have to make other connections and get people to trust you, know you, and like you, that they're willing to invest in you to invest in these deals. Now, I knew I had about a 6-month turnaround. I was able to find underneath the friends and category section some people that were willing to help me out and invest in me, that believed in me and trusted me. Excuse me. And that's usually the easiest way to do it. That's why they say start there, is because if you have friends and family, they already know you, and hopefully if you're not a jerk, they like you.
Yeah. I don't think they'll be lending you money
right?
if they think that.
that John never pays back. You know? So
that's why you helped me with the fan. You want my money.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Cool. So then once you get into the home or get into the condo, what's your process regarding renovating it, or fixing things that need to be fixed? Where do you start? What do you do if you don't know how to fix something? Kind of all that. Or I guess take me through your past experiences since you've done these last 5 properties.
Yeah. So like I said, when I first go into a property, for this last flip that I was working on, I went in with a realtor, and that realtor, legally I needed her to let me in, right? And so once we got in, I was able to make an entire list. At first it was in my head, but there was a lot of video and photos that I took. So once I get those videos and photos, and this doesn't have to be me, it could be someone else down the road, so that way I outsource that portion. But for now, it's me. And I take note of everything that's aesthetically unpleasing, that I know is, it's there's certain things right off the bat. For example, all lighting, it's out. It's not going to match what I'm going to put in. And so I ended up just tearing it all out
Is that for every property, or is that just
every
specifically for
property?
one?
I mean, like for this one too as well. Most of these condos so far are switched outlets, so I don't have to do too much. I ended up deferring to putting ceiling fans in those bedrooms, which added an extra fee for an electrician to properly make that happen. But this property, since it's a rental, they're all still switched outlets. And so that means the bottom outlet is just whatever you plug into that outlet, there's a switch on the wall right by the door of the bedroom that you can just flip on, and usually it's like a night lamp or something, or like a lamp that's in a corner. So I go through and I make an entire list. And once I have that list, I know, for example, because I also take measurements for the flooring, I know I can take that flooring measurement for the square footage and then put that up against what I want to put in there, what colors, and usually this is where my wife steps in. So she comes in and says, okay, I want, like her and I went to Floor and Decor down in, I think it's Tosa, or Waukesha, I don't remember. So
One of them.
one
of the W's.
Doesn't matter. Maybe it's Brookfield.
Well, then.
Wherever it is. Anyways. So yeah, this is where she steps in and really helps out because she loves sitting on like Facebook sites and stuff like that on like wholesale groups and stuff. For example, for like lighting, she got all the lighting for that place through this group, which was like half off what she would pay in the store.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Adds up.
So that at least makes it more affordable on that end. And they match. They're what she likes. And her style is up to date. It's modern. And so with the flooring, I knew the square footage. All I have to do is tell her to, okay, here's your top 3 options in the price range that we can afford. When I look at something, I say, okay, I'm going to allot $2,000 for that. Like, so I got to make it fall within this price range. So that meant I had to stay under like $2 per square foot because that's just what it came out to. And so then I usually add 20% because it's suggested through general
Be
knowledge.
pessimistic
Yeah.
so you don't. You'd
So
rather
that way,
overestimate
with all like
than
the cuts,
underestimate.
you have to like have cuts and stuff like that. With all the cuts, usually you're at like 10 to 15% more, and so 20%. I mean, if you have a box or 2 left over, I just ended up giving it to the new homeowner and said, if you ever have issues, here's some replacements. So yeah, I basically go through an entire list of things that I need to do and price them out. I mean, I knew that she wanted, and I agreed, that all the interior doors and the front door needed to be replaced. There was like they had burned a lot of candles, so like instead of painting over all these doors and they would look kind of funky.
Yeah.
We opted to just pay $100 per door and just buy new interior doors.
Yeah.
They looked nice. They were pre-painted white.
Yeah.
And we moved on.
I wish I had you as a landlord in college because I don't think they did anything.
No, they don't.
My first, or one of my, I think sophomore year, junior year maybe, I moved into a new place and I had so much space and I was so proud of it. Of all my, I had like 2 different rooms. So I had my bedroom, and because nobody else was living in this place, and I didn't know why, I had a whole nother living room that was all just my area, so I could hang out. And my bedroom had 2 sliding doors that slid open to this living room area. And my girlfriend at the time came over, and I was so proud. I was like, look at all the space I have. And we went into the room.
So much more room for activity.
Yeah, exactly. But we went into my room, and then I was like, look how much space I have. And I just fling the doors open. And then a bat comes flying straight at us, and I just go, and I rip the door out of the wall. And so the door falls over, and we're just like, run! So we run. And I get back in. I catch the bat with like a little net thing that was in the house somewhere, and I release it. And I didn't hurt the bat, which is awesome. I didn't touch it either. We get back in. There was another bat. There was 2 bats.
Wow.
And then I look up, I'm like, there's a bunch of ceilings. So I'm literally living in the back cave. But yeah, it's nice that you replace everything and make your properties nice for people.
Yeah, and like I said, that was a flip. I
Yeah.
knew that I wanted to sell it. For example, like with this one, I'm keeping this one. I know when I bought it, it's going to be a rental.
Yeah.
The one that we're sitting in, by the way.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be a rental. So there's things that
Just because the numbers or just how
well,
they
it
add
just
up?
doesn't. They look nice. I mean, it's nicer than 95% of the places that I walk through. Why would I change them so that their 5-year-old can put a dent in the door a month later?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like there's a certain point where I like to treat my tenants well, and I like to do a lot of preventative maintenance stuff immediately when I buy it.
Yeah, you were telling me about that,
Yeah.
how you like to,
Because
if you might as well just fix it
Yeah.
now, right?
so, for example, when I say like preventative maintenance stuff, when it comes to like the rentals, I knew all of the water shutoff valves, which is like something you need in an emergency. Like if the sink starts leaking and I'm not able to get down here for 3 hours. Excuse me. If I'm not able to get down here for 3 hours, I need to tell them over the phone how to shut off the water properly so it doesn't create further damage that's unnecessary. Now, if I didn't replace the water valves and they go to shut them off and the handle busts off of them, which has happened, that water's on and it's going to be pouring water
And
everywhere.
way more damage to the property, too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so it's like not only the tenant's personal property, then you got to make an insurance claim, and it's like that's just a dark area I never want to see. So I take it probably costs me $30, not including labor, to go and replace one sink's water shutoff valves. So when I see that, like the cost of me doing it now and making sure everything is as best as it can be, so I don't have issues for 5 years, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So it's like I put new sinks on everything in here. The sink right here, all the bathrooms have new sinks because I know that that's an issue. Like over time, sinks gum up and they start going bad. So it's like, why not just be able to replace it? So if I do it now, my hope is that it's maintenance free or very minimal maintenance for 5 to 10 years.
Gotcha. So from the first property to this property, the fifth one, what do you think something that you've learned or something that has made you, I would say more efficient? I mean, you've probably had more time with Corona to get this place going,
Right.
but is there anything that you didn't know initially? I mean, you had your dad, so you probably learned a lot from him, but
Actually,
yeah.
he only stopped by once.
Really?
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, it looks good. So I didn't, a lot of the stuff, like you had asked the question, like, how did I learn about stuff earlier? A lot of the stuff. And like, I think the best thing coming into this is almost like an ignorance, because when I look at something, I never think that'll take 15 minutes for me to do. But I guarantee you I was underneath that sink for an hour and a half trying to replumb the drainage.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I did it wrong 3 times, and eventually you learn how to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And every single house is different. And so everything you come across is a new learning lesson. So what I do is I look towards YouTube or past knowledge growing up. So my dad trained me my entire life how to do a lot of stuff. Not everything, but a lot of stuff. There was even stuff that he would look at and say, I would never do that. Especially when it comes to water pipes, he's not interested. He's definitely the guy that's like, wow, it's important, so just go hire somebody to do it. And I'm like, I learned how to do this in high school, how to solder pipes.
Yeah.
Plus what I do for work is soldering anyways. So it's like, match the two together, figure it out. And so yeah, I learn a lot of stuff off of YouTube. Like I had never textured walls before, and I learned off of YouTube. I went on Amazon and bought a $40 texture sprayer, and I had a like $60 air compressor that was big enough to keep up, and I bought some hoses, connected them all together, and went to town. And so it's like the end product wasn't perfect. It's probably not something that would like a professional might pick out and say that like, oh, you messed up here. And it's like, well, yeah, I know. But it was my first time. So it's like, I thought it looked beautiful. Everyone that came through said it looked awesome. And next time I'll be better. I'll learn different ways. And okay, instead of waiting 5 minutes, wait 10 minutes for it to set up. Or the sweet spot is 7.5 minutes for it to set up on the wall. And then you knock it down. So yeah, I go into a lot of projects thinking that they're not going to take as long, or I can do this, just because it's like it's more of an attitude thing than anything.
I think we all underestimate how much we can get done in the short term and versus the long run. You know, it always seems, I can get that done, and you're like 3 hours later, you're like, oh.
Yeah, and I still have my limits.
Yeah,
there's stuff that I don't like to mess with. Like if it's air conditioning related, I'm not into it. A water heater, I called a guy and said, I need you to put in or like disconnect the water heater and come back in 3 weeks and put it back in. And he did that, you know, but I paid for it, you know? So that was like, I saw it and like thought to myself, could I do that?
Yeah.
And like, maybe one day I'll do it. I haven't, but maybe one day I will.
But you know a lot though. That's enough to be dangerous.
Enough to be dangerous.
Yeah. So how would you rate my ceiling fan job?
Well, funny you ask, because during the instructions.
Yeah. By the way, Dan, I put that in. It works and everything. Light, fan, doesn't fall out of the ceiling. Okay, yeah. What?
So during the instructions.
Okay.
There was at every single step, every single page.
Oh yeah.
What was there? A little thumbs up.
Dude, it's marketing. Every step, it's like at the end they're like, "Good job," and you're like "Yeah, I did it."
I remember that. So like, one of the things too is like with rentals and flips.
Yeah.
I buy all the same stuff. When I buy a ceiling fan, I buy the same ceiling fan as long as they sell it, because I know how to install it, and I can do it somewhat fast. So, and it looks beautiful. I already like it. I know how it works, and I know it works. You know, there's fans that I've bought in the past that like a month in, it burns out every light that I put in it. Well, why? It's just, I don't know. So yeah, it's kind of funny that you asked, because like every step there was a little thumbs up icon. Does it look like this? Thumbs up. No. And so I thought that we both got a kick out of that. And so yeah, your answer is
thumbs up. All right,
up.
I got a thumbs up.
It hasn't fallen down, and it looks like a fan.
It does.
It walks like a fan. It talks like a fan.
It does. It lights up like a fan.
It spins like a fan. It's a fan.
It is a fan. I'm a fan of the fan.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think I felt good after that day. It was a good day.
Yeah.
I ended my day with fixing a couple of things. I was like, all right, let's do it.
And we put in a new light switch for it.
Light switch. I learned how to do the sink. That was cool. Yeah, I'm gonna surprise somebody.
Now you have
something.
Now what the coolest part is, like, you have your own little mark on these places. You know, every time I drive past that condo flip, there's a new owner in there.
Yeah.
The one that bought it from me.
Yeah.
You know, and I drive past it. I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I hope that she likes it. If she doesn't, I gotta go hide. But
yeah. No, you did a beautiful
obviously
job.
She bought it, so she loved it.
Anyone wants to see? We could probably link the video that we'd made of it. We should do that, because that was, dude, it's a cool property.
It looked beautiful, and Jennifer, my wife, staged it awesome. She did a very good job.
Yeah. How do you utilize social media? You just, I kind of know, but what's your thought process on it when it comes to what you do?
Yeah, so I still am like somewhat shy to a certain point.
I know I'm trying to get you to do like a video, like a YouTube channel, a vlog of how you do it. Of some sort.
I like, again, with the whole pay it forward thing, like I want to share, like my ambition is to share what I'm doing at all points in time. But there's like a certain point of like ADD
and time.
Yeah. Where it's like, I gotta get this dishwasher in and then go home because my wife wants me to eat dinner with her. You
don't want to eat dinner though.
I want to eat dinner. You know what I'm saying? But like when you're married,
I get you.
She wants you to be there because she spent a couple hours cooking it, you know, and like that's important as far as like relationships go.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like, how much do I stop video, and then I got to go home and spend time editing the video.
Yeah.
And then still manage relationships. I haven't mastered it by any means. I'm still working.
Well, once you make this mentally a full-time job, then you'll be able to.
Yeah. I'm still working mentally on that and trying to figure out how I can balance all those plates, because as of right now, if I take on any more plates, I'll start dropping plates. So in the effort to not drop plates, it kind of takes a hit on the whole social media thing. But what I try to do is I try to post stuff on my stories for Facebook and Instagram. I usually post like once every other day that I'm here.
No, I see all your posts.
Yeah. But they're not instructional videos like I kind of would hope them to be. It's more of just like a status update, or like in the past I've done like time lapses, which are really cool. So like I would start at one side, like when I did the flooring on the flip project. Yeah. I started on one side, and then like the camera just showed me from start to finish putting this flooring in, which was really cool. I was proud of that video at the end of it. Was it like high tech? Absolutely not. No. But it looked cool. People loved it.
It's cool to see what you can turn things into. Right. The difference. People don't appreciate the journey, I think, until you show them it, you know? Yeah. With a lot of stuff. I mean, even seeing this from when I walked in, the walls were pink. Yeah. You know, all the lights were out. It looks nice. I mean, literally all that's left is pick up the tools and stuff and clean, and looks about done.
Yeah, so I definitely got to get some carpet cleaners in here. But yeah, even like the other day, like I have never taken off wallpaper before. And you showed up before the wallpaper was taken off,
it was
I'm pretty
nasty.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it was just like this ugly wallpaper, and I've never taken it off before. I have no idea. So what did I do? I went on YouTube, searched it. It sucked. I mean, I did it. I thought I did it how they suggested, and maybe the water wasn't hot enough, or like there wasn't the perfect mixture that lets this stuff just come right off. But wallpaper is notorious for being really terrible to remove, and so. But anyways, you had saw it when it was back on there. And you see it now.
It looks great. It looks like these walls, you know. It's you wouldn't even be able to tell that was right. There. I was a fan of the wallpaper. I wanted you to keep it. It was light blue lines with shiny silver and then brown, and I don't know why that was the mixture of colors that they chose. You know, whoever chose was like, you know what? I want wallpaper so nobody will want to dump in my bathroom because it's so ugly. No.
It was like
it looks like so much better now.
All right, so it was like 1 inch by like 3 inch rectangles, and like stacked. Yeah. So there was like a sky blue. Yeah. And then a turd brown. Yeah, it was a combo I've never seen. And then like with like a little bit of, there was like a silver one.
Yeah, something I've never seen before.
And it was like just color combo. Why would you ever do that? It was just terrible. And they wrapped the entire, so there was like a medicine cabinet that was inside of the wall, and they wrapped the entire medicine cabinet with that. And so I had to take the medicine cabinet out.
That seems like such an unnecessary project.
I bought a new one.
You know what would be better? If you can't already get away from this wallpaper, why don't we just make more wallpaper for them to look at once they open that? It's just, that's hilarious. Yeah. You probably were like, oh, finally I'm done. And then you just open that, and there's just more in there.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that I looked at. So like I was looking at the medicine cabinet. The face of it was all plastered with this wallpaper. And I was thinking to myself, like, well, obviously I can't leave it. I have to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm getting rid of the rest of it, I have to get rid of this. I can't just have this random design.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that look like? Well, I know it's glued. It's glued down on there. Is my time worth, like, if I value my time for anything, it would probably take me 2.5 hours to sand all that wallpaper off, the glue off, prime it, and paint it white. And then it's like painted white and it matches and it would look weird. So it, like the end final finished product is not that beautiful anyways. So that's where it's like common knowledge comes in and valuing your time. You could make anything happen if you have enough time, right? But valuing your time is where it comes in.
Yeah.
So I went out to Menards, our local store, and I spent $15 on a new one. This one has a mirror, which I didn't really care for, but $15.
But no ugly wallpaper.
No ugly wallpaper.
Yeah.
$15 later, you have a brand new medicine cabinet, and it took me 10 minutes to screw into the wall, and it looks beautiful. So it's like, there's a lesson in there, value your time. And I even said, like, even if this thing costs $40, like, I'll still do it.
Yeah.
Like, because my time is worth more than trying to sand this down for 2.5 hours and then repainting it.
Yeah.
And then you have to wait for each coat to dry. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's not worth my time
Yeah.
at all.
No, for sure.
So
where do you see this going? What's your vision? In high school, I don't know. You just don't know where people are going to go, and then it's cool to see people figuring it out. Where do you see Armada Investments going?
My goal in life, and I've shared, and my wife's on the same page. She's on the same team, so we have to be on the same team. Otherwise, this would never work.
Yeah, 100%.
So my goal in life is to, when I want to be like 50 to 55 years old and never have to work ever again. That's ambitious. And when I think of the real estate world, like, I would rather put money into a property than the stock market. And so because that's how much, like, if I'm going to make something, if I'm going to buy a property, the returns are going to be much better than anything that I can put into the stock market. So, like, if I'm making more money putting it into a property, why wouldn't I go the property route? I'd be essentially wasting my money if I put it in the stock market. So, my goal is, I never want to miss a kid's soccer game or wrestling match or softball, whatever, whenever. I never want to miss that stuff. And it's not like my dad missed mine. No, like, he came to mine. But he was a business owner that could call his own shots, and he did so. And that's what I appreciated, that every wrestling match that I had, he was there midway up the stands watching me. And it's like, that's irreplaceable. Yeah. So with that being instilled on me, that's something, but I'm taking it a step further. Like, right now he works because he wants to work. I don't know if he necessarily has to.
Oh, I was going to say,
I don't know.
I guarantee you when you get there, when you're 50, you're going to be like, well, I got to get out of the house, so I'm going to go work on something, because my dad's the same way. He's like, oh, I'll retire. And then he's like, oh, extend.
Well, I think retiring isn't something that I really want to do. Yeah. But I want to financially retire.
I get what you're saying. You want to be comfortable and be able to choose what you're spending your time on. Yeah.
Definitely. So I mean, like, you can still have, like, passion. Like, everything you do after that point is like a passion project, and you just do it because it's fun. If you wanted to go work at a library because you love books that much, you can afford to work in a library and just hang out in the library all day. Or if that means that, like, for example, like, my dad does a lot with, like, Habitat for Humanity, which is so his entire career, like I said, was building houses. So he loves building houses. And Habitat for Humanity, that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They build the houses for different people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what he enjoys doing. He can afford to do that, which is awesome. I want to put myself in that position to never miss a kid's soccer meet and to be able to call my own shots and have that luxury of calling my own shots.
So that's what drives you.
That is like 100% what drives me, is like that singular goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that looks like is for the next, like I said, I still have a W-2 job.
Mm-hmm.
I plan on having a W-2 job, but acquiring with that W-2 job, I want to save as much money as possible and acquire more properties, and take these, like, condos aren't scalable. And so the maximum amount of money, for instance, that
What do you mean by condos aren't scalable?
I'm about to tell you.
Oh, all right.
So, for instance, the maximum amount of money that like this condo can produce. So, like, if it's $900 a month, is if there's no loan on it. Like, let's say I pay it off and there's no loan on it, the maximum it will produce, like, net, is gonna be like $8,000 to $9,000. Is that life changing? No.
Yeah.
But in 10 years from now, when this thing is paid off and it's worth $75,000, that I can sell this, I can do whatever I need to do to sell it in 10 years and take that $75,000 and put it into something much larger, whether it's an 8 family, a 12, or whatever I want to do, whatever I find, really. Even if it's like in Illinois, I don't know, whatever I can make happen. Now, the beauty of that is that if you do it right, there's like, it's tax deferred and stuff like that. And so that possible $9,000 a year becomes easily $20,000 or even $30,000 a year with a loan on it, because those properties usually are in the ballpark of anywhere between $400,000 and up. Okay, so like a 4-family building is usually 400, 500 plus. If you go to like a 12, it's usually in the $1 million mark. So if I kind of try to start out small, and let's say I want to go for a 4-family building, and I want to, and so it's going to be roughly $400,000, just for easy round numbers. If I have to bring 20% of that, I can take, or a minimum. If I have to take a minimum, so like part of the whole financing thing is when you buy something, you have to bring 20% down if it's an investment property. Okay, housing, like residential ones, it's a different ballpark. Okay, so commercial, 4-family and up, or technically it's 5 and up, but you have to bring 20% down if it's an investment property held in an LLC or some sort of corporation. So knowing that, I can take the sale price of this and tax defer it for a later date and take that $75,000 or whatever this unit sells for to Joe Schmo. I can take that $75,000 and use it as my down payment on a 4-family building that brings in $40,000 per year or 30 gross. And then usually like the net income when you have like a property that size, it depends on how the numbers play out, but I mean that instead of $9,000 a year, it could be bringing me like 15 or 20 after I pay all the fees, like the mortgage and stuff like that. So it's like that's where you start to scale it. Condos don't scale unless you like transition out of them.
More sort of stepping stone.
There's a huge cap. There's a huge cap here, and why I started with condos is because the barrier to entry on the price point is something I can afford. Yes, there's more work because in 10 years, I know I have to sell this place and I know I have to fix it up and I know I'm going to have to make it ready. And then I have to find a new place to buy and I have to make that place beautiful. So there's a ton of work involved either way. But, but the barrier to entry is very easy. If you live in them, which I did with my first two, you only have to bring in like 5% down. So for a property that I only had to bring in $5,000, let's say I bought it for $100,000. If I only had to bring $5,000, that's all it took to cash flow at the end of every month, $250 a month. For the next 30 years, it'll do that. Nice. And then it'll be paid off. But again, then it only can make $9,000 a month. Mm-hmm. So like I said, there's a cap to it.
Or a year, you mean?
Right. Mm-hmm. There's a cap to it. You can, let's say I wanted to make, for example, if I wanted to make at 55 years old, $100,000 a year. If I think me and my family can live off of $100,000 a year comfortably and maintain whatever lifestyle we want to maintain at that point in time, that means I would have to have 10 condos paid off. Or I can take the first one that I lived in and sell it. And then I can use that as a down payment for the 4 family or 8 family that I want to buy. And then the second one, the one that I'm living in right now, I can do the exact same thing. And then this one, do the exact same thing. So now I have 3 condos that I sell. And over time, I transition those condos into a bigger sized commercial property. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a 4 family or an 8 family or a 12 family, or even if I take 2 of those, sell them at the same time and put it into a larger unit, I have a much better chance of reaching that $100,000 a year goal doing that. And so that's why I'm starting here.
You're almost using the condos to scale to larger opportunities.
Because you have the benefits of like your tax write-offs. Mm-hmm. So that's the beauty is over the next, frankly, the rest of my life, I'll have tax write-offs every year. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have tax write-offs, you notice, you know what I mean? Like, and so if you're making money and you're doing pretty well in life, you pay a lot of taxes. But if you have real estate, I can wipe out $40,000 a year on taxes just because I have 3 condos. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Where do I sign up? How many friends can I get to sign up to? Is there like a signing bonus on this? And then, so over the next decade or for the rest of my life, I'll have all those write-offs and have the benefits of owning property and be able to make this something. And that's where it all comes down to is that my end goal is to make a certain amount of money and go from there and just live happily ever after.
There you go. If that's ever a thing, do our best, right?
I'm going to try my best to find it.
Oh, aren't we all?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're about at our hour. So any last anything you want to touch on, I guess? Any last word advice if somebody was thinking, you know what, I want to flip a condo and just get my feet wet and start
or
with
anything.
Yeah, anything.
Whether it's a single family house or anything like that. My advice is it's going to be a couple parts.
Okay.
One, learn as much as you can and don't go into it blind. I at least had the knowledge of how to fix a lot of things, and taught myself, and then have the willingness to be able to learn how to fix things if you want to be hands-on. Otherwise, you have to be very, very, very good at numbers and quoting how much stuff is going to cost, you know, because like if something costs more because you didn't foresee it as a newbie, there was probably $5,000 worth of stuff that I had no idea about, like or like that I didn't know. So if you don't know, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like, but because I'm doing a lot of the work myself, I'm able to eat that cost, and so I make less. Big deal. The number one goal is having the mindset of like losing money is absolutely never an option. And if you have that mindset of doing whatever it takes necessary to make that happen, you're going to do pretty well for yourself. So I would just say learn as much as possible, and I would start at bigger pockets. I listened to every single episode within like a year and a half. So, and then like I said, I religiously listened to them. So
You heard it here first. Don't listen to our podcast. Go listen to that podcast. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No,
if you want to know about real estate,
I know. I'm just
listen to the Bigger Pockets podcast.
It sounds. Hey, it helped you out.
Yeah.
So, good information. Cool. Well, at Becoming Alpha, I know I kind of talked to you about this prior. We like to do something where we challenge our guests at their own game in a way that is, like we can figure out. Last time what we did was Dan, who's sitting behind the camera, we were interviewing Ryan from Brew Fitness, and they're known for they're a fitness center that sells craft beer. So he challenged him to a pull-up contest and a beer chug. Nice. So Dan lost miserably at his own game. So I'm maintaining confidence after that whole 2-day spurt of knowledge you rained down on me. Yep. But you suggested that we each try to fix a outlet, correct?
Yep. So a little context. A couple days ago, you had replaced a light switch.
Tell me it still works.
It still works.
Okay. Yes.
So it's pretty much the same thing.
Figure if I can remember the wiring.
Same tools, same process, and we'll see how you do.
Yeah. Honestly, if I complete it, I'll be happy. Actually, I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah, but my insurance company won't be as if it burns down.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Well, we'll shut it off, right?
Well, yeah.
We could make it more interesting if we don't shut it off.
If you do it wrong and you close up the plate and go home.
True. Well, we'll double check.
We'll double check.
All right. Sounds good. Well, that's rule number 4. Don't let amateurs fix outlets without checking them.
I'll have to write that down.
Yeah. You learned it here first. Cool. Well, let's get at it.
All right. Good. Go.
All right. Go. I'm learning things.
Wrong side.
What? I'm just antsy right now.
You want to win.
I'm gonna. I'm competitive.
You already lost.
I know I did. You'll be done in like 3 minutes, but now it's just proving that I can do it.
You got it?
I got it. Daniel, I got it.
Did you really?
I did.
Congratulations. What was the official time?
16:52.
16 minutes?
Well, it doesn't lie.
That took me 16 minutes? Oh my gosh. I guess practice makes perfect.
Yeah, I went out and had a phone call.
In 3, 2, 1.
More than that.
What's your confidence level on this?
I'm good, dude. He's stumbling. He can't seem to find the holes on the screws, you know. Quite frankly, after the podcast, I'm questioning his knowledge after seeing this.
Guy's a total amateur. Only a seasoned professional like you would know what he's talking about.
Get back to it.
Just gotta like fast forward.
Just make me look extra bad.
All right, the second half is gone. Done. Yay!
All right,
11
I got
minutes
demolished.
faster.
John. So what do you think made the difference between you and Brandon?
YouTube University.
YouTube University.
Yes, I went there, got the graduate, certificate. So yeah, I got it.
And that assist on that you made with that wire pad there. What was that all about? Did you feel good about that?
Yeah, it was something that I came up with like on the spot. So I really thought that it was gonna be something that a little curveball for you.
Was not telling Brandon about that one tablet code, was that part of the game plan as well?
No.
Okay. Well, good win. Congratulations. We wish you the best in the next rounds.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So who would you like to thank for this?
This loss. I mean, it was a well fought match. It was a tough loss. It was a close one. It was definitely a close one. Only off by a couple 10, 12 minutes. But I do want to thank my family for supporting me. I want to thank Jon for cheating, not showing me about that tab. Yeah, not much else to say.
Do you think this should be an automatic disqualification for not doing the tab?
The rules weren't specified. They weren't specified at all. It was an unfair advantage, but I can't make excuses. The refs are going to make their calls. People are going to make their moves, and at the end of the day, it's really all up to me and my mindset. The tab was there. I should have made the move. I should have made the pull. Unfortunately, I screwed before I pulled.
Where did you go?
From my college experience, WSU, baby, all the way. YouTube University went out today. It's only a difference of about 40,000 in 12 minutes, but it makes a world of difference.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I gotta go. Thanks, guys.
Alpha.